welcome you to the USL Championship on CBS Sports. From the desert of Arizona, Phoenix Rising welcome El Paso Locomotive. There's history to Dollar Beer Night, part of a major 20-game winning streak a handful of years ago. Maybe Phoenix can turn it around on this sudsy evening. Take a look at the Western Conference standings. It feels a little topsy-turvy. Phoenix 3 points beneath the playoff line. El Paso sits a dozen points down. And good evening, everyone. Joined by the former USL Championship MLS League One player Ricky Lopez. Aspen Mike Watts on hand as well. And this is a weird game in the Western Conference, Ricky, in part because no one at the beginning of the year would have thought these teams would be in this spot.
I think it's interesting, Mike, because they're make no mistake about it. Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I did not.
And you get.
That's impressive.
Sorry. Okay, there you go. I could really.
I did not know they were doing a ball drop that way. That's rad. First Responders Night is lit. Wow.
There you go.
Woo.
Was it in Copa when they had the little car?
Yeah.
And it just didn't work? Yeah, it didn't. And they're like, all right, we're getting away with that. Game one.
Honestly, that's pretty cool. It's First Responders Night. I'll make mention. We welcome you to the USL Championship on CBS Sports. On this Friday night in the desert, Phoenix Rising take on El Paso Locomotive. Dollar Beer Night. There's a little history to that, and maybe a little bit of suds goes a long way in turning one of these teams' seasons around. Take a look at the Western Conference standings, and it is upside down. El Paso, a dozen. Again, I have not needed 3 takes to do an open all year. If we're starting... We welcome you to the USL Championship on CBS Sports. On this Friday night, Phoenix Rising and El Paso Locomotive. Two sides in disappointing position in the Western Conference in the championship. Take a look at the table. It appears seemingly upside down. El Paso is a dozen points out of 8th. Phoenix 3 points away from Orange County, a much desired playoff position. And good evening, everyone. Joined by Ricky Lopez, Aspen Mike Watts on hand. And here we go with a Western Conference game, Ricky, where neither side can totally believe where they are in the standings. What do you anticipate tonight?
It's going to be really interesting, Mike, because make no mistake about it, in 2024, both of these teams is not what they expected or they wanted. They both parted ways with their head coach. They brought in new players to hope to kickstart their form. But yet, big 3 points up to grab. It sets up for a competitive matchup.
Now, when you think about Phoenix, think back to where they were in November in penalties, winning the USL Championship final against Charleston on the road. but so many departures over the offseason. Their head coach, Juan Guerra, an incredible scoring tandem, Arteaga, Trejo, Carlos Harvey. Then Danny Stone takes in the coaching job for a mere 17 games. The Rising start the season below 500 through 17. Diego Gomez now taking over with a side out of playoff position for the first time since March 30th. But they've made a huge acquisition. In comes Charlie Dennis.
And he gives you the presence in the middle of the field. Look for him to win 50-50 duels, but also the final action higher up the field. Goals, assists, late runs out of midfield. I do think Charlie Dennis and Phoenix Rising, a match made in heaven.
So Dennis gets his first appearance likely for the Rising as a sub off the bench later tonight. Meanwhile, pump those brakes. First 4 games under Wilmer Cabrera taking over from Brian Clairhout, 2 wins. But the last 3 games, they've yet to have a multi-goal performance. Shutout twice, they've conceded 7. Tonight, they're without a number of players due to a COVID outbreak within the team and the coaching staff. Injuries galore. Maybe Amando Moreno can help turn this thing back into the offensive flow that the Locomotive had felt in the beginning days under Wilmer.
I think he needs to be really good, and he has the freedom to go and search the game, whether it's central locations, whether it's on the wide. He has the ability to produce that little bit of individual brilliance. And if you're Wilmer Cabrera, how quickly can he get up to tempo in and around that 18-yard box, especially here on the road?
He's the leading scorer for this Locomotive side, and alongside Petar Petrovic, perhaps they can get the attack flying in Phoenix. It is a very hot night. Triple-digit temperatures as the sun sets in the Valley of the Sun. Kickoff is incoming. It's the championship on CBS Sports. It's Phoenix, El Paso coming up next. It's the championship on CBS Sports. On CBS Sports. It is a hot night in Phoenix, Arizona, and a big game in the Western Conference from 2 teams hoping to be on the come-up in mid-July. Massive acquisitions for both teams tonight. Charlie Dennis, an all-league midfielder acquired from Tampa Bay to try and turn around the Rising season. Well, El Paso adds 2 of Wilmer Cabrera's former charges at Rio Grande Valley, hoping to help the interim lead the Locomotive to new heights. It's the championship on CBS Sports. We welcome you to the USL Championship on CBS Sports. On this Friday night, Phoenix Rising and El Paso Locomotive. Two sides in disappointing position in the Western Conference in the championship. Take a look at the table. It appears seemingly upside down. El Paso is 12 points out of 8th. Phoenix 3 points away from Orange County, a much desired playoff position. And good evening, everyone. Joined by Ricky Lopez, Espen, Mike Watts on hand. And here we go with a Western Conference game, Ricky, where neither side can totally believe where they are in the standings. What do you anticipate tonight?
It's going to be really interesting, Mike, because make no mistake about it, in 2024, both of these teams is not what they expected or they wanted. They both parted ways with their head coach. They brought in new players to hope to kickstart their form. But yet, big 3 points up to grab. It sets up for a competitive matchup.
Now, when you think about Phoenix, think back to where they were in November in penalties, winning the USL Championship final against Charleston on the road. But so many departures over the offseason. Their head coach, Juan Guerra, an incredible scoring tandem, Arteaga, Trejo, Carlos Harvey. Then Danny Stone takes in the coaching job for a mere 17 games. The Rising start the season below 500 through 17. Diego Gomez now taking over with a side out of playoff position for the first time since March 30th. But they've made a huge acquisition. In comes Charlie Dennis.
And he gives you the presence in the middle of the field. Look for him to win 50-50 duels, but also the final action higher up the field. Goals, assists, late runs out of midfield. I do think Charlie Dennis and Phoenix Rising, a match made in heaven.
So Dennis gets his first appearance likely for the Rising as a sub off the bench later tonight. Meanwhile, pump those brakes. First 4 games under Wilmer Cabrera taking over from Brian Clairhout, 2 wins. But the last 3 games, they've yet to have a multi-goal performance. Shutout twice. They've conceded 7. Tonight, they're without a number of players due to a COVID outbreak within the team and the coaching staff. Injuries galore. Maybe Amando Moreno can help turn this thing back into the offensive flow that the Locomotive had felt in the beginning days under Wilmer.
I think he needs to be really good, and he has the freedom to go and search the game, whether it's central locations, whether it's on the wide. He has the ability to produce that little bit of individual brilliance. And if you're Wilmer Cabrera, how quickly can he get up the tempo in and around that 18-yard box, especially here on the road?
He's the leading scorer for this Locomotive side, and alongside Petar Petrovic, perhaps they can get the attack flying in Phoenix. It is a very hot night. Triple-digit temperatures as the sun sets in the Valley of the Sun. Kickoff is incoming. It's the championship on CBS Sports. It's Phoenix, El Paso coming up next. first responders night in Phoenix. They've brought the ball with them on the medevac. Phoenix and El Paso coming up. Take a look at the lineup for Phoenix Rising. They made a couple changes. No Remy Cabral tonight. Cuejo and Azócar are in.
So for Mela, he's going to be dictating tempo at that front line. Skiers and Zambrano need to be really good because you look at this El Paso Locomotive side in the center of the park. That's going to be the key for Wilmer Cabrera. Whether Rodriguez or Coronado drop back and provide some security in front of Calvillo, in front of that back four.
5 changes in their lineup. And we're ready here in Phoenix to go. These are two sides that traditionally sit near the top of the Western Conference. They're both in frustrating moments. Joaquin Rivas stands over the ball. And on this Friday night, a chance for either to make a statement. The opening whistle arrives. It is El Paso away to Phoenix on CBS Sports. Rocco Rios Novo, the final MVP last year, mentioned that Phoenix won the title over Charleston in penalties. John Stenberg, late equalizer. And an incredible turnaround, not only in that game, but specifically within the shootout, leading Phoenix to their first title. Long ball forward and a real chance, knocked away by Waite. And the follow-up, pounced on by Cuejo. He sends that into the stands. And a real chance for Gabby Torres right off the bat.
I think with the wingbacks that Diego Gomez wants to play with can cause all sorts of issues for this El Paso Locomotive side because you create an overload, whether it is Torres, Cuejo underneath him. Good start for Phoenix Rising. Will not be surprised if we see them play a little bit more direct against an El Paso Locomotive side that has conceded 28 times in this 2024 campaign.
That in just 17 games this year. Pop Marboy. Fuenmayor, his 10th start of the campaign. No Traore tonight. No Remy Cabral, the lead striker for Phoenix. Missing out tonight due to injury. It's a Phoenix team that, under their interim coach, Diego Gomez, have focused on a more possession style of game. Torres goes down, free kick. Whistle goes against Moreno. And a good free kick for Phoenix to come.
Yet again, Mike, it's Gabby Torres, his positioning. Been really asking questions about 2 minutes in. Because now if you're Moreno or Lucas Stauffer, either one of you need to step, but the other one needs to drop in. Can't be Lucas Stauffer jumping in because then you have Cuejo in between the pockets. 3 minutes in, really good opportunity here for Phoenix Rising.
Set piece for Phoenix. Standing over the ball, Cuejo. We welcome those of you watching Seattle and Utah. Ball wound up and met by Jamali Waite. Mike Watson, Ricky Lopez, Espen from Phoenix Rising Stadium in Phoenix, Arizona. Goalkeepers caught out here, and Rocco Rios Novo goes to ground and denies Petar Petrovic. Phoenix and El Paso both beneath the playoff line in the Western Conference, but perennial powers in the championship. Both looking for a massive 3 points tonight on a triple-digit heat night out in the desert. Stauffer. El Paso 4 winless since a 1-0 upset win in a Copa Tejas game against San Antonio. Game 8 under their interim manager, Wilmer Cabrera. Phoenix Rising game 2 under their interim coach, Diego Gomez, who joined the staff in February and replaces Danny Stone. after a sub-500 start to the season through 17. Dolenmeyer playing high. Petrovic lines up Wyke. Lawrence Wyke got a piece. Still it's Petar Petrovic.
Fantastic defending by Wyke. Not leaving his feet, playing the body. When he takes that touch negative, that's when he jumps in. That back three for Phoenix Rising, Fuenmayor, Boy, and Wyke need to be really good at understanding when to step off their line and be aggressive. Because yes, this Locomotive side hasn't probably scored as much as they would have hoped, but they do have talent and players that can produce a little bit of magic higher up the field.
No, it's interesting, right? You talk with both managers in the lead up to this game, and there's an acknowledgement that the other side has underperformed the level of talent they have, and that just because you're playing a team beneath the playoff line doesn't mean that this is in any way a gimme for one side or the other.
I mean, we were talking off air, Mike, and you just go down the roster player for player. Watch out here.
Torres returning to Cuejo. Navigates toward the end line. And another decent set piece to come here for Phoenix. Lucas Stauffer commits the foul, just returned from injury last game.
And this near side for Phoenix Rising between Cuejo and Gabby Torres. Really testing the shape of El Paso Locomotive, unable to figure it out. Lucas Stauffer is getting caught in an overload, so now if you're Armando Moreno, you need to drop back and help him out, do your defensive duties. The second free kick in a matter of minutes that Phoenix Rising has won in a dangerous area.
Ball whipped across, bodies on the ground. Calvillo, El Paso defender, landed on his stomach. Hopefully those of you who watched Seattle defeat Utah in their openers in the NWSL League MX Summer Cup. Enjoying this summer of soccer. Includes the USL Championship tonight, again on Sunday on CBS. And Oakland takes on Sacramento. Of course, the network of soccer, Serie A, the EFL, both signing on multi-year deals announced this week with CBS Sports. Torres. Popmar Boy. It's a poor pass. Coronado. His debut for El Paso, acquired from Central Valley Fuego in League One. Played at RGV for Wilmer Cabrera. Calvillo. And now Yuma. Unbelievably, his first start of the year. The 38-year-old from Madrid captains the team. Stauffer. Levied off by Rivas and out toward the halfway line.
Really good idea there from Stauffer. As Moreno makes a run, he pulls out Fuenmayor with him, and that opens up the lane into Joaquin Rivas. And he's a player that, if you're Wilmer Cabrera, you need to get him involved early and often and around that 18-yard box. 1 goal, 1 assist on the season. Maybe lacking productivity from Joaquin Rivas.
Last couple of years in Miami, 21 goal contributions in 43 games. Features for El Salvador's national team. Fuenmayor. Wyke. Came across the turf monster.
Sniper somewhere in the stadium.
Yeah, we've been there, done that, eh? Got away from Moreno.
You just see how deep El Paso Locomotive is sitting in their defensive structure. And that's exactly what Wilmer Cabrera mentioned to us on our phone call. Defense is going to be that top priority to get a clean sheet. So you get into a mid to low block, try to frustrate Phoenix Rising. And if you're the other side, Diego Gomez, the ball needs to move very quickly from side to side and make this back line shift When those gaps open up, that's when you can play into the path of Derek Formella.
Molly Waite playing long. Popmar Boy, that's a bit of a rookie error. Took that falling away, and they concede a free kick as a result. Whistle goes against Skeers. Fifth start of the year for a player who's twice been named first team All League One. All the way down to Jamali Wade, who started for Jamaica in the absence of Andre Blake in the Copa America this summer, including an epic performance against Mexico. Lobbed long, drops in, trying to chip the keeper. Rios Novo kept his hand out. Coronado put it wide. And El Paso showing a premonition toward the long ball.
A fantastic little action from the Locomotive as Joaquin Rivas drops in. He actually pulls out Boy with him, and then it's a run out of midfield from Coronado. No rotation, no communication from Fuenmayor or White to come over, so you're asking Zambrano to make about a 50-yard run defensively. Coronado's gonna want this one back. Fantastic decision to go up and over. Rios Novo just misses about a yard, but a good action for the visiting side here.
Fuenmayor. Phoenix decent at home, but it's been road games that have really been their Achilles heel this year. 9 games, they've taken just 7 points away from the corner of 38th and Washington. Torres. Popmar Boy. Diving header away, bounces away from Formella. Navigating through Asakar. Out to Torres. Familiar sight down this left-hand side. Give and go, well done. Torres hangs it across. Asakar went for the spectacular. Fuenmayor turning through now and past Asakar from Varela and launched by Jamali Waite to the halfway line. Ball through, chested back, Varela! It's in, but it will not count. Fede Varela pumping up the crowd. The offside flag goes against Formella.
End-to-end stuff, but it's a fantastic clip ball over the top from Zambrano. And as Remy Cabral not starting, Derek Formella gets a nod at the top line, and what he gives you, the ability to bring players into this game. About a yard or two offside off the shoulder of Yuma, but you just see how clever he is. Little knockdown into Varela. Just a little bit of a glimpse of how explosive this Phoenix Rising side can be in the attacking phase of the game.
And look, it's really early in this game, but we are seeing elements of what Diego Gomez suggested he could bring to this team. There's certainly an aggression in terms of their defending, but for the interim head coach, there's not a lot of time to actually work on anything.
And one thing that he mentioned to us, Mike, that he wants to be aggressive on both sides of the ball, but he wants to press high, he wants to force turnovers, and in 14 minutes, we've seen how aggressive Fuenmayor, Boy, and White have been at stepping off of their line. It's been a really lively start for the home side here.
Torres once more, knocked off the ball by Armando Moreno. Here's Rodriguez, the 20-year-old native Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. Make no mistake, there is a lot of frustration within the Phoenix fan base right now. The runway coming off the title win in November after what could only be described as a disappointing offseason, seemingly fairly short. Stauffer kept it alive. That'll go into the bleachers for a corner. When you lose some 50 goal contributions from 3 players, Harvey, Arteaga, and Trejo, you bring in Cabral, but you really fail ultimately to replace all that firepower. The fans a bit frustrated there. Juan Guerra then leaves for Houston over the offseason to assist Benny Olsen. Danny Stone steps in, and it may have been a quick hook in some people's estimation from the outside, just 17 games. The time in which he didn't have an assistant for much of preseason, didn't have his performance guy much of preseason. And then all the roster change. Corner for El Paso, dealt with by Rios Novo. Up to Formella. And belongs to El Paso. Their head coach, Wilmer Cabrera, as the throw now given to Phoenix. Cabrera, 7th game at the helm. This is a guy who spent 4 years leading Rio Grande Valley. Oftentimes in that role, it was the little engine that could. Well, now you've got the real train. This is an El Paso team that certainly spends more than RGV ever did. And their disappointing run over the last, call it calendar year, under Brian Clairhout, a little bit perplexing from the outside.
I think you ask anyone in the USL Championship, any head coach as well, this team is a lot better than what their record shows. But now talent can only take you so far. Now it's productivity. Now it's results, goals, assists, clean sheets. And his top priority, like you said on our phone calls, defensively. That's going to be the key for this Locomotive side. You secure yourself 1 point, and then you can hope that your players high up the field can turn that 1 into 3 with a little bit of magic.
You talk to Wilmer, the veteran of nearly 50 caps with Colombia, said it's a choice to fight. Ultimately, he needs this El Paso team to make that choice sooner than later, as they sit 12 points beneath the playoff line. Haven't won at home all year. 7 losses, 2 draws in 9 games. However, if I could offer a positive, a silver lining, they do have 3 road wins, and perhaps this lays out well for them tonight. An aggressive Phoenix team, one that perhaps they get hit in the right moments. Here's Yuma, also Bamonda, a very young back line, but when you add the 38-year-old Yuma to the mix, you certainly raise the mean by quite a bit.
He gives you leadership. He gives you the ability to organize the players in front of you. So I'm looking at Coronado, Rodriguez, and Calvillo. It's a clever little ball.
Moreno, as dangerous as anyone you'll find in the championship. Moreno forces Rios Novo to reach back and slap it over the crossbar. It might be a bit of a learning experience tonight for Pop Marboy.
This is some technique outside of the foot over a couple players, and then you're asking Moreno just to go to work. Around the corner, picks his head up, no one. And around that 18-yard box, why not have a go and try to catch Rios Novo off his line? Talked about him in the open. He's a player that can produce and be the difference maker for the visiting side here.
El Paso down Borelli, Moshaban, Akinyoti, Navarez. Sorry, you thought I was done. Hines, Alfaro, Dillon. Injuries, handful of players missing after testing positive for COVID this week. Ruiz, one of the newcomers. Calvillo returns. Ruiz playing high. That deflected. Petrovic lost his footing. Yuma loses the race. Ball forward from Asokar. Contact galore, but not enough to draw a whistle.
Playing with fire if you're the Locomotive. It's the second time on your attacking set pieces you've only left 1 player back. You always want to have a +1 in your defensive structure. So as for Mela staying high for Rising, you need someone else other than Lucas Stauffer to front him.
Back up here by El Paso. Seemingly Phoenix was on the verge pushing into the final third off the turnover. Coronado through Ruiz, the former RGV teammates, run all the way down to Rios Novo. Of course, Phoenix has been on the wrong end in the past. You think back to a game they had against New Mexico United in which they played nearly double-digit academy players as a result of a COVID outbreak. They certainly understand what it means to be down a number of players, substantive players, in a game like this. Turning the clearance away from Asokar. Notably for Phoenix tonight, without Cabral, the striker, but also Traore. Also the news this week that Panos Armanakis not with the team due to disciplinary issues, as described by the interim head coach, Diego Gomez. Vital, creative in midfield. Ball struck ahead, Moreno's on his horse. Turns the corner, cuts back on Fuenmayor, leaves it off. Rivas playing over, still trying to bang through. Coronado could get no further. Meanwhile, Phoenix the other way. Wyke taking all that space. Turns down the option wide, left Calvillo behind. Here's Cuejo. Cuejo! Deflected by Yuma. Corner. After a real chance on the other end.
Moreno has been the player that's been causing the Rising a lot of issues. This touch to create a little bit of separation is fantastic, but you want him to be a little bit more selfish because the window is there. And as this ball rotates over from Joaquin Rivas, you need someone to pull the trigger. Whether it's Joaquin Rivas, whether it is Coronado, the ball's on your preferred left foot. Going back the other way with Phoenix Rising. Cuejo, he's been really active, whether it's centrally, whether it's providing the width for Diego Gomez. It's been end-to-end stuff to start this game, 22 minutes in.
Zambrano. Ball skitters through. Decent clearance from El Paso, but Cuejo recovers. Zambrano, Cuejo. Cuejo went for goal. Deflected aside, and Coronado toward the halfway line. Wyke to backstop for Phoenix. Asokar. Ruiz. Wyke is there again. Zambrano. Varela. Well, this is what you can expect if you're Phoenix tonight. A very low block from El Paso. Ball whipped in toward Waite. Moreno rebuffed by Cuejo. Stauffer. Rivas. Sought Moreno. Stay with El Paso, throw deep in the attacking half. Turning on Wyke and playing into Rios Novo. Mention El Paso's lengthy list of unavailable players tonight. these are all guys that would consistently, if they're not starting, they're one of your first options off the bench. That means for the Locomotive, it is a very tall task tonight.
And it's in places that really hurt you. Tumi Moshavani, Justin Dillon, Bolo Akinyoti, that's your spine of your side right now. So now if you're Joaquin Rivas, yes, you're not a true out-and-out number 9. So by tendency, you always want to come and be part of the build-up, but you want to stay high. You want to occupy that back 3. And doing that, now you afford Moreno and Petrovic the ability to operate in between the lines and isolate the 2 outside backs. Too many times he's dropping in. You're not having enough space or willingness to stretch Phoenix Rising's back line.
Torres once again. Hopeful ball springs over Zambrano. Wyke. Yuma playing out of the back into the teeth of the Phoenix press. Potmar boy high, appeal for handball, there's the whistle.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Mike. That's Joaquin Rivas. About 20 yards in your defensive half. You want him to play and stretch this game and be as expansive as possible. Because as he's dropping in, now that's Boy, your center back, winning that initial challenge. Trying to squeeze this game and try to force turnovers higher up the field is what Diego Gomez has been wanting to do. 27 minutes in. They've been really good defensively, and they've had the ability to win second balls as well.
Fuenmayor. Zambrano. Knocked off at the end line by Dolenmeyer. All kept alive, if only brief, by Wyke. Calvillo. Here's Rodriguez. He got taken out, and that'll come with a yellow card to Fuenmayor.
Really clever from El Carvillo just to receive this ball from one side of the field and go out the other. And now you have a man advantage as Moreno is making this run down this near side. You're asking Fuenmayor, and he's isolated as a center back. That's not what you want to happen in the center of the park. He picks up a yellow. Big test in terms of the discipline and the positioning from the Phoenix Rising center back.
Calvillo. A rainbow downfield to Moreno. Sends diagonally back, Wyke upfield, and on it once more. You'd be surprised not to see the debut of Charlie Dennis, acquired from Tampa Bay. Midweek for Phoenix in the second half off the bench. May well see Damian Barker-John make his debut. The 19-year-old New York native acquired on loan from Real Monarchs. Cuejo pitchforking ahead, got by Rodriguez. Cuejo once again. Varela. Phoenix trying to shoot in a barrel right now against this El Paso side.
And those are the types of runs that you need to see a little bit more if you're Diego Gomez from central locations, whether it is Skiers or Zambrano. Because as Azúcar and Gabby Torres are high and wide, they're pinning back the two outside backs for the Locomotive. And how do you unbalance them? You have to be selfless in terms of your movement, whether it is from Formella, and you get him a little bit more involved as his first half progresses.
Brought down by Torres. Well, the best laid plans, mice and men. Skitters away. Let's tell you the competition heating up this summer on CBS. Sacramento Republic look for revenge against a red-hot Oakland Roots on Sunday, July 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And then August 3rd, 4 p.m., be Detroit City hosting the newcomer Rhode Island FC for the first time. USL Summer of Soccer continues on CBS. Well, Oakland was red hot. Pittsburgh threw some serious cold water on that last time out. We'll see if Oakland can rebound on Sunday afternoon.
I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup. Two teams close in proximity. Always a little bit of an extra juice to that matchup.
We'll chat about it at halftime. With another good game on Sunday night on ESPN2 out of the championship. Here's Stollenmeyer. El Paso's soaked up a lot of pressure. From time to time, they've created. They do something here out of possession. It's largely been direct against the run of play that El Paso has managed. It's easily denied by Popmar Boy. Wyke slides by Rivas.
Been really impressed with the balance of the middle three from Wilmer Cabrera, and that was something that I asked him on our phone call. What does it look like in terms of on the ball, off the ball? The three have been really compact. Coronado and Calvillo have dropped in a little bit deeper, so now you give Rodriguez the ability to fill in the gaps on both sides, making life really difficult and clogging the passing lanes for Phoenix Rising thus far.
Zambrano returns. Azúcar, Fuenmayor, now Torres. Formella into the pocket. Skiers. Azúcar. Stollenmeyer stayed with him, and now Ruiz takes it away. Knocked on by Azúcar. Wyke. Stymied by Ruiz. Paso's thinking that's our music. Train going by in the distance. The Locomotive pinned down at the moment. Azúcar. Wyke. Fuenmayor. Skiers. Ball given away. Numbers were certainly forward for Phoenix. Slid through. Covered well. Moreno outflanked by Popmar Boy. And at 34 minutes, appears the official will call for a hydration break. And so Emil Cuello and Phoenix will take a moment, and a player down for El Paso will be attended to here. Coronado just coming into the team will be attended to. Hydration break here. Let's show you some of the early headlines from tonight's previous action. How about Charleston against Miami? A 2-0 win for the Battery and a continuation of a great season for Nick Marcanic. He's now scored in 4 games running.
Goal 17, goal number 18 for Marcanic. Are you surprised? A player that is scoring goals for fun, so clinical in around that 18-yard box. Charleston Battery, so many weapons on the top line.
He's now 7 goals clear atop the Golden Boot race. Meanwhile, Wilson Harrison, Louisville City, playing earlier tonight against Colorado Springs, and this was a banger of a game. It's Foster that scores the opener for Colorado Springs. It's Louisville that would eventually score the winner in 90+5.
Really clever finish here from Winder as he just opens up his hips and guides it into that far post. But you look at this Blue City side, especially at Lynn Family Stadium. Never say die attitude. The experienced center back rises up, snap header. They keep all 3 points at home.
And so Louisville maintains their lead in the Eastern Conference when it appeared like Charleston had closed the gap. Alas, and for Colorado Springs, a frustrating conclusion. Again, that goal, just a minute remaining in the game from Tosh. Was able to slip off his mark. Meanwhile, Coronado back up. And a yellow card was shown to Skiers. It's his 3rd yellow in 455 minutes this year. Not that anyone's counting.
He needs to be a little bit cleaner on the ball. Plays right next to Zambrano. Zambrano, by tendency, will sit a little bit deeper. So now picking and choosing when you join the attack higher up the field for Skiers. Him and Fuenmayor, both players on a booking for Phoenix Rising.
By the way, there was another game tonight. North Carolina and Detroit finish 1-1. It keeps North Carolina below the playoff line. It also keeps Detroit from inching toward the top 4. Indy and Tampa Bay are 3 and 4 points clear of them, respectively, in 3rd and 4th place. 4-game Friday night in the championship. Here's White. Carlos Sasakar now in toward Formella. He got bounced by Dolenmeyer. Grabbed by Jamali Waite. For all the frustration for Phoenix, a win today and they're into 8th place again. El Paso, they get a win. They're still 9 points away from 8th place Orange County. Good news is 2nd place and 8th place are only 5 points apart. So if you do find your way into that mix, no one's pulled away out west. Stauffer. Dissecting ball, too much for Formella. I don't know if the guys just don't have the right cleats on tonight.
Yeah, there's
just
a lot of
slippage.
Yep.
Grass surface here in Phoenix usually plays fairly pristinely. Whistle's gone here. Offside on Moreno.
And it's about the 3rd time that Joaquin Rivas is just getting caught out of position. As this ball comes direct, you do not want Armando Moreno challenging for the initial ball. That needs to be Rivas challenging for it, and then Moreno picking up the 2nd ball. I understand not a true and out striker, but as he's dropping in, you have no presence on the front line. If he does drop in, then Petrovic and Moreno need to come centrally. Problem is, Mike, is they're staying high and wide. They want to go 1v1. So Wilmer Cabrera, yes, you can defend for 39 minutes of this game, but when you get on the ball, you have no presence in a higher and a central location.
Plenty of contact from Stauffer. Ultimately clean. Taken back by Formella. Asokar. Formella. That deflects out for a corner. Take a look at the final third entries. Tells a pretty compelling story. Let's see what Quayshaw can produce. Previous set pieces have all come off the left-hand side. Quayshaw up for Asokar. All brought down by Fuenmayor. Formella winds up, now sends the cross. It's a hair too high and too far.
You talk about efficiency in the final third for Phoenix Rising. It's a fantastic ball in from Fuenmayor, but his first touch from Derek Formella needs to be better. This needs to send him into the 18-yard box.
Off the turn, a real chance for Phoenix, broken up. Jamali Waite eventually dives on the grenade. Well, that is a bit of a warning for El Paso, and they failed to heed it again. Quayshaw, Asokar. Asokar whipping across. Got by Varela. Quayshaw navigating, fancy footwork. Run over by Moreno. Chances piling up for Phoenix approaching halftime.
He's been the best player for Phoenix Rising. Quayshaw has the spaces that he picks up, but also the intent that he plays with. First pass forward, head up the whole way, and it's a clever little turn for Varela. Unable to get on the end of it, but we go back the other way. Watch how clever this is from Quayshaw. He just stops, invites the contact, he goes down, he makes the most of it. Result of it wins a really dangerous set piece for a nightmare of a position for Jamali Waite to deal with.
Crowd looks on. It's dollar beer night here. All hung across, over Wade, header goes in! Scarce pulls Phoenix ahead before halftime! His first championship goal. Finally, they pulled the cork here in Phoenix. 1-0 ahead.
Take a look at the foul yet again. He creates a contact, just stops, and it invites Armando Moreno, a bit overzealous. It's a little clip ball from Zambrano. Jamali Waite comes off his line. He gets a little bit of a bump, but there's nothing in that whatsoever. Back post, and this is just pure willingness from Skiers. Over Coronado, gets a last touch on it. In the blink of an eye, Phoenix Rising deservingly go up 1-0 here at home.
Finally, something for these home fans to celebrate. And Skiers, who backed 16 goals in about 100 games for Union Omaha, has his first in the championship. And the numbers are pretty good when Phoenix backs that opening goal. It just hasn't happened nearly enough.
When you look back at the field for Jamali Waite, you're going to want this action back. Just looking for the foul. As a goalkeeper, how decisive can you be when you pick and choose to come off your line? Teammate or opponent in front of your way, you have to take them out. Just too easily puts his hands up, looks for the whistle of Elton John.
Elton Garcia.
Elton Garcia, there you go. But now it's going to be interesting, Mike, to see what the Locomotive do defensively. Do they step out of their shell a little bit more? And if you do that, the balance and how compact can you be, especially in the center of the park, is going to be key for Wilmer Cabrera's side.
Elton's a showman, but I wouldn't put him in that stratosphere.
You know my taste in music now.
Yeah, I do. Whistle's gone against Zambrano. And a free kick approaching halftime. He's begging that had been a bit of simulation. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. You can visit us.select-sport.com. The latest Select products, specials, and more. That's Select, player's choice. 3 added minutes before halftime. And Waite puts that Select ball right back into play. Ultimately, right, you run into your own player. He runs into Rivas. If you're not looking for contact there, you've horribly misjudged the flight of that ball. You're talking about an international goalkeeper for Jamaica. That had a really uncharacteristic mistake from a guy who's typically pretty good in the air. Moreno, Niels Novo backed in. Potmar Boy walks it over the line.
But also, you just look at the ball as Zambrano clips in, there's a lot of air underneath it. So that gives him the ability to read the flight of it, scan the players around him, the traffic in front of him, and make a play on it. Talked about this match being really competitive between two teams that are struggling in their own right, coming off a loss if you're the Locomotive against Vegas, and a loss for Phoenix Rising at San Antonio.
Taken away again. You can feel a little bit of the frustration from Wilmer Cabrera there, can't you?
Very animated on the sideline here, just too predictable from Jamali Waite. It goes back to what I've mentioned throughout this first half. As Phoenix Rising is stepping high, that leaves real estate going back the other way. And if you elect to play direct, you need a number 9. You need a presence on that top line, a focal point to play off of. But Joaquin Rivas, he's playing as a third midfielder.
Coming central. That's not going to get it done. Petrovic. You look down the bench, there's only one actual forward on their bench tonight with all the injuries, and Zacharias. So El Paso largely has to make do with what they've got. They just need to figure out how to ultimately stay where they need to be.
And if he's going to drop into the middle part of the field, now you're asking Petrovic or Moreno to play centrally to challenge for that initial ball. But those players, you need to get more involved. You need them more isolated on wide parts of the field. But yet for Phoenix Rising and Diego Gomez, I think you have to be pleased about how quickly can you get that second goal out of the break is going to be key for Phoenix Rising.
At halftime, we'll show you the upcoming national TV schedule, highlights and stats from the first half as well. 1-0 in favor of Phoenix on the goal in the 43rd from JP Skiers. For those of you watching our free streaming coverage, it will conclude after the commercial break. We'll continue on CBS Sports Network. You can find us by going to cbssportsnetwork.com/channel finder. Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona. Take a look at the fans here on this dollar beer night. 1-0 in favor of Phoenix. Something to celebrate over El Paso. Ricky, Mike, let's get you caught up on what happened in the first half of play between these sides. And Phoenix really put El Paso to the sword the vast majority of this half. The only time El Paso managed to do much was when they played directly like this.
And it was mostly on this near side between Moreno, Coronado, Lucas Stauffer. They were having the ability to break that initial pressure, and then they started to find real estate to operate in. Higher up the field, former Cabrera, how do you play a little bit more direct and Route 1 football? Because to start this game, you found success. Moreno was very active, but as the game progressed, Phoenix Rising started to understand, if we press, we need to rotate over and take those passing lanes away from wide parts of the field because there's no presence, essentially. In a game at this tight, Mike, set pieces, that's going to be the difference. Cuello, he creates a little bit of contact. There's just so much lift on this ball. Jamali waits looking for the foul. If he scares this, thank you very much. I'll head this into an open net. Up to the corner to celebrate. Phoenix Rising 1, El Paso Locomotive 0.
And El Paso concedes the opening goal for the 10th time this season. They have lost all 9 previous occasions. And even with so many players unavailable, this seems like El Paso knew they'd come in here and sit in that low block.
100%, but now what do you do when you're on the ball? That's going to be the question for Wilmer Cabrera, because you can only take so much pressure. But they've shown that if they do break that first line, play into their front line, there is success to be had. You have players that can produce 1v1 moments, but how do you see them more often than not? I will not be surprised if we see Wilmer Cabrera dip into his bench earlier rather than later.
All right, it's halftime here in Phoenix. El Paso still trying to figure this out. Meanwhile, Phoenix has the goal they need. Can they make it stand? Can they add more? A look ahead to our upcoming national TV schedule after this on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back on this Friday night. It's the USL Championship on CBS Sports. Phoenix Rising and El Paso Locomotive at the half. It's a 1-0 lead for Phoenix. Come on into the booth, everybody. Joined by Ricky Lopez, Aspen, Mike Watts on hand, and thankfully we have air conditioning here tonight as opposed to everyone Phoenix Rising Stadium. You know, one thing that's certainly been hot this summer to this point, the Western Conference race certainly heated, and that's made for one of the more enticing playoff races we've seen in quite some time.
I mean, Mike, look at the game that we have here. El Paso Locomotive usually at the top, Phoenix Rising near the top as well. They're at the bottom, right? So if you look at this Western Conference and USL Championship, you string in 2, 3, 4 games, you're right into the playoff picture, but it sets up for a fantastic finish to end this 2024 campaign.
Certainly does. And on Sunday on CBS, we've got a great Western Conference game. Two teams level on points, second and third. It's Oakland and Sacramento on CBS.
I mentioned it earlier, close in proximity. This game always gives you that little bit of an extra effort. Oakland Roots, they're going to look for a reaction under Gavin Glinton. They got battered at Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and Sacramento Republic tied NCFC at home. So now, Mark Briggs, what buttons do you press to get the best out of your side?
Yeah, he usually finds the right buttons. Meanwhile, Detroit played earlier tonight, a 1-1 draw with North Carolina. They'll see a Rhode Island team that's turned their whole season around August 3rd on CBS.
How good has this Rhode Island side been? Connell Smith getting the best out of his side, scoring goals for fun, defending a lot better, but yet going to Keyworth, Detroit City at home in front of that hostile environment, sets up for a fantastic matchup between the two.
Last 7 games, nearly 20 goals for Rhode Island, and you'll want to see Detroit City at its best. It is truly amazing. Number of chances to see Detroit in this summer of soccer. They'll appear 3 times on national TV between July 31st and August 7th on CBS and CBS Sports Network. You'll see a lot of Sacramento, too, including that game August 10th.
I think that one's going to be really interesting. Danny Cruz, we know how good they are at Lynn Family Stadium. They will host Sacramento, where Mark Briggs and company very comfortable going on their own. Put a circle around that one.
And then on Saturday, you and Joel Malf will be on ESPN, too. Sorry, you and Michael Watrang have that game. Pittsburgh and Hartford, July 20th. Pittsburgh with the lead over El Paso. It's a mere 1-goal advantage, and we got a long way to go. Big one beneath the playoff line. Come on back. Think back to November of 2023. Phoenix Rising raises the championship trophy that eluded them for the better part of a decade. But major departures over the offseason. Head coach Juan Guerra, their scoring duo of Trejo and Arteaga, Carlos Harvey as well. So Danny Stone takes over, but parts ways with the club after just 17 games. The former assistant leading the team to a 5-6-6 record. In comes Diego Gomez, leading a Rising team out of playoff position for the first time since March 30th. The Banditos always make their voice heard, and so it is tonight. Thank you, Danny Stone. Always a Bandito, always a champion. This Phoenix Rising team in their first home game since the sacking of the head coach Danny Stone with 1-0 lead at halftime. Mike Watts, Ricky Lopez-Espen. You know, Ricky, when you hear the fans via social media, they're quite vehement. They have a belief that Danny Stone didn't get nearly enough leash. If you look at the course of this season, between the injuries, the departures, and certainly a tumultuous run-up to the campaign with Juan Guerra leaving for Houston as late as he did, well, they're pretty frustrated. And while their record leaves them right around the playoff line, and they won the title out of the number 6 seed last year, the highest seed to ever win the title. I mean, Ricky, this Phoenix side ultimately has higher expectations than most clubs, and for good reason. The fans are voicing that frustration tonight, including toward members of that front office.
And rightly so, because you look at this Phoenix Rising side, Mike, coming off of a title in 2023. They're the golden standard now in USL Championship. And you look at the side, the players that they brought in, players that they've lost, but yet the quality has never wavered. And I mentioned it earlier, you go for player to player down this roster, the talent will blow you away. But now, how do you turn that in terms of productivity, in terms of results, wins, draws? Hasn't been good enough as of late. But for Phoenix Rising, I do think it's really difficult because you're looking at consistency. Consistency in terms of performances, but also in personnel due to injury, due to lack of form. Really difficult to find that. And now we'll see what Diego Gomez has up his sleeve and how can he get the best out of the players that are at his disposal.
Meanwhile, there's El Paso. Brian Clare had a tremendous start as the leader for El Paso Locomotive, but it trailed off in a major way. There was a time early last year, 7 straight wins, 10 games unbeaten, 9 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws. But what happened after that, June 17th of last year onward, 5-18-8, less than 1 point per game over 31 games. Phoenix retakes the field. They're a tad late in doing so, although the sprinklers have only just turned off about a minute ago as well. I mean, Ricky, ultimately, if you're El Paso, you bring in Wilmer Cabrera. He has always gotten more than the sum of the parts at every stop he's been at. JP Skeers scoring the go-ahead for Phoenix on this night. Are we going to be able to see El Paso find their best form this year? He's made clear a lot of the money is already spent, but he's made a number of changes in short time to try and turn this roster into something that can make El Paso proud again.
And first and foremost, for this El Paso Locomotive side, you need to get healthy. You need bodies on the field, bodies that can contribute over the white lines. That's the first step for Wilmer Cabrera. And second, you look at this side and sometimes they feel uninspired. It's the effort that he needs to get right for this Locomotive side, and great opportunity here.
On to the second half we go. Phoenix and El Paso on this Friday night on the East Coast, now this Saturday morning on CBS Sports Network. Phoenix, over their last 47 games at home in June, July, August, call it summer in the desert, only 5 losses, and they've outscored their opponents by 80 goals in 47 games. We'll try and keep the good times rolling. If they do so, it will put them right at the playoff line alongside Orange County. 10th all-time meeting. It's a Phoenix team that had been to multiple championship finals, but only last year got over the hump. It's an El Paso team that joined the league in 2019, been to the playoffs 4 times, went to the Western Conference final each of their first 2 seasons. Scarce. His first championship goal came in the 43rd. Slid along toward Torres. He was a menace in that first half. That whole left side of the attack for Phoenix was.
I'd say for both sides, it's been the most active part of the field on that side. For the Locomotive, you have Lucas Soffer and Armando Moreno. The other side, Cuello and Gabby Torres. A lot of talent. The relationship between Gabby Torres and Cuello has really came to fruition. Watch out.
Back by El Paso. Calvillo. There's Moreno. Rodriguez gets his second start in as many games. A young talent that the club's pretty excited about. Native Mexican who's the third Academy product, ultimately signed a pro deal with the club. It's part of the thing about El Paso. In theory, there is a ton of talent down there, and they've had a pretty consistent pipeline between they and FC Juarez as well across the border. A lot of unique ways for them to add to a team that has never lacked in spend or high-level players. White gave it away cheaply. Moreno. Three minutes in the half, and Phoenix finally will take a moment to settle this. Scarce. Rolled ahead for Azakar. You were interested. A number of 2022 Oakland roots have permeated the roster in Phoenix, including Azakar. Nardo Rito, they add in Charlie Dennis, who could make his club debut tonight off the bench. It's very possible that Dennis's inclusion could come in a matter of minutes now. He's left the subs and made his way into the bench. Dennis making his way toward the fourth. Coming on for Phoenix in no time at all. Was a midseason acquisition, you could argue, Armenakis last year, that really spurred Phoenix on.
It's going to be interesting to see what position Diego Gomez sees Charlie Dennis at his best, whether it's higher up the field, whether it's central locations, because he has the ability to play in different lines and give you different looks.
Oh, that given away awkwardly. Rivas with a deflection. Ultimately left Rios Novo grasping for air. It'll ricochet out for a corner.
Just a bit too casual from Fuenmayor. No pressure on the ball. You cannot get complacent and try to overcomplicate things. Just keep it moving. You cannot afford this El Paso Locomotive side a sign of life.
They just seem a little perplexed coming out of halftime, don't they?
Unable to deal with a little bit of a different look that Wilmer Cabrera has implemented. This Phoenix Rising side is at their best when they have a lot of width with Gabby Torres and Azúcar, but how do you find them to stretch out the opposition?
Corner for the Locomotive. Our boy knocks it along. And Zambrano will dribble it out. Back to Stauffer. Coronado wins the free kick. Here comes the change for Phoenix. And here comes Charlie Dennis, all-league player at FC Tucson back in the day. Ultimately on to Oakland, then Tampa Bay. Acquired on Wednesday this week officially after an 11-goal season last year. His role certainly changed over the course of this season for the Rowdies, and Phoenix happy to arrive and bring in a monumental midfield talent. Replaces Fuenmayor, the center back, so this could come with a different look in a number of ways for Phoenix.
And it does seem like Lawrence White will pop onto that back line. The left side of the three, Boy will play centrally, and JP Skiers, the goal scorer, at the right back of three. Cuejo and Asakar as your wing backs. Just looked at Fuenmayor coming off, had his hand on his left hamstring. Don't want to risk it if you're Diego Gomez. And now we get our first glimpse of what the relationship between Zambrano and Charlie Dennis will look like in the center of the park for Phoenix Rising.
What traits do you like about Charlie Dennis? Well, he scores 11 goals last year, the first thing that Diego Gomez made mention of when we chatted with him this week.
I think his movement as well. Tracking those runs out of midfield deep into the 18-yard box are just so hard to track, and he does that so well. Gives you a big body to win 50-50 duels, aerial battles as well. The young man has everything in his locker.
Al-Sakar. That's behind the newly inserted Charlie Dennis.
Now, if you're El Paso Locomotive, you do force a turnover. Your first look needs to be forward. That's a great little ball from Yuma.
Ruiz. Now Petrovic. A rare chance to isolate. Petrovic got the end line. That's quite a pirouette near the goal line from Rios Novo. With a little flair he controls. And Petrovic came up lame, and he's gone down. You mentioned that Fuenmayor grabbed his left hamstring. Petrovic is grabbing at his now. And this is a guy whose season has never gotten off the ground. Only returned in June, his first start. He's only played 120 minutes this year.
Not a good look if you're a Locomotive fan. A little bit of a glimpse of how influential Petrovic can be. Right foot, left foot, a true out-and-out winger. That was exactly a little bit of discomfort.
And Ricky, every player's been there, right? You get to a point in the season if you play professionally long enough where it's one knock and then another, and then you finally start to get some minutes, and then it gets pulled away from you again. You just see on his face so much disappointment. And you think back to when Brian Clairhout brought Petrovic in and a handshake from the interim manager, Wilmer Cabrera. Clairhout said this is a guy at Malmo who, without the ACL tear that he suffered in Sweden, very well could have been playing UEFA Champions League minutes. Ultimately, injury took that opportunity away. Injury will keep him off at least the rest of tonight, if not moving forward. They play Friday against New Mexico United in a big derby match. next week. First change for El Paso on a night where their bench is extremely thin. Really, they brought in the only guy they could for him, right? I mean, Zacharias is the only forward that you had on your bench.
And I am surprised that it's still Joaquin Riva spearheading the attack. Zacharias will pop onto that right-hand side, so that will bring Moreno to this near side. And he's a really clever player in terms of his movement. So look for his weak-sided runs as the second half progresses from Zacharias.
Native of Las Cruces in New Mexico. El Paso with their head up, attacking with numbers now. The aforementioned Zacharias. Turned away by Wyke and met by Torres. Zacharias into Calvillo. Dolenmeyer. Ruiz. Whistle goes, free kick, seated by Dennis. And Zacharias making a pretty instant impact coming off the bench.
I think it needs to be a little bit quicker, because as he continues his run, just look at the lack of intent, whether it's from Moreno slashing across, Joaquin Rivas, they're all on a jog. It makes life so easy for Phoenix Rising just to get into their defensive structure. And what's the result? Now it's a turnover going back the other way. It's little instances like that, Mike, that you need to be higher in tempo, pulling players out of position, have a willingness to put pressure on this back line.
Calvillo is good at dead ball striker as you'll find, although he leaves it to Ruiz. Now Calvillo. Calvillo. Walked out toward Rodriguez. Rela playing through. Torres didn't like the look. Here's Varela again. He's already outperformed his scoring numbers last year. If he were to go the distance today, he'd match the number of minutes he played all of last season. Argentinian player came up at Celta, found his way into Porto, and then a journeyman-like career through a number of countries. He's got an extraordinarily busy passport. Throw for Phoenix. Mella's switch is short. Wait, don't tell me. Dolenmeyer. That'll get the crowd excited. It's the little effort plays that the savvy crowds really understand, and this Phoenix crowd certainly that. We got big games coming up. Our summer of soccer rolls on. The championship and League One. ESPN2, Pittsburgh and Hartford play on Saturday night. Then on Sunday afternoon, Oakland and Sacramento, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on CBS. I think a lot of people head scratcher, right? You play North Carolina FC, 0-0 draw. You're also coming off going to the wire with Seattle in the Open Cup midweek. And that North Carolina team, very stout defensively, one of the best in the league. Ball whisked in front, whipped across by Formella. Got out in front of Torres at the end. Dangerous from Phoenix, trying to double their lead after Skeers had gotten his leg taken out.
As Ruiz gets caught off his line, now there's an overload. You're asking Dolenmeyer to come across. Clever ball from Asakar. For a little bit more composure from Formella. Either goes on himself to put it on target or pick up his head, because you have two players crashing at that back post.
And credit to Elton Garcia, right, for playing advantage in that
100%.
moment. That's a real chance.
I think he's done very well at managing this game and the flow of it. You need to be careful now if you're Wilmer Cabrera. Pressing a little bit higher. So that might leave gaps in between lines, but you need to be compact. That back line needs to step with that midfield line to make this game as tight as possible defensively.
Wait, Yuma. Rivas, very deep. Moreno. Prodded forward for Rodriguez. Popmar boy really has to deal with this. Rodriguez came up a bit lame.
The first time that we've seen a run from a Locomotive player, just testing the shape of Phoenix Rising. And like you mentioned, as Joaquin Rivas is taking this ball from Yuma, the center back, you're asking one of your center midfielders to make that sort of run.
A little bit surprised here, and maybe a more veteran player, right, goes down in the field of play. I mean, I think we've all seen the gnarly photos of Lionel Messi's ankle, right? But he also falls over the end line and then rolls four times back on. In this particular instance, he does go down right at the line. Let's see the battle he had down in the corner with Popmar Boy. Just came up a bit awkwardly at the end of it.
A little bit of a clip ball from Moreno. I actually thought Rodriguez did well to keep this alive. Just awkwardly. Roy coming out of that challenge. His facial impressions shows that something is not right, a bit of discomfort.
Off the field, just wait.
Well, here comes a change, and it's one that may elicit a bit of a roar from the crowd, no pun intended. Miles Lyons, the 21-year-old from Tucson, Arizona, in off the bench, replacing Mario Rodriguez. Lyons played at Barca Academy in the Phoenix area, signed with El Paso in 2022. First pro signing out of the Barca Academy since Diego Luna came out at that point in time for El Paso. And we've certainly figured out what Diego Luna is capable of since he left El Paso, huh?
Not a bad name to be in conversation with.
Just got named to the All-Star team,
yep,
in MLS out of Real Salt Lake. And it was an absolute shame he's not going to the Olympics. Good touch inside, Varela. Overtaken by Yuma.
Savvy defending from Yuma. Reads Varela like a book, knows exactly what he's trying to do, trying to sweep that thing through his legs and get the nutmeg. But the way that he steps into this, legs are closed, no entrance whatsoever.
Well, that might be it for Cuejo now. Players dropping like flies at this point, and it seemingly a number of soft tissue things ongoing here. Gestures toward his leg, perhaps his hip. either way. He's already made the universal signal to come off. Card's been handed in. It's worth noting now, if you're El Paso, you burned 2 sub windows due to injury in this second half. Petrovic, Rodriguez, so you still have 3 subs left, but 2 of them are on academy deals. You've got Brandon Craig available off the bench, but only 1 window, so if you have another injury, you've got to make decisions. And should Cuejo come off, it's going to be the same issue. You brought Dennis on for Fuenmayor, 5 minutes out of halftime after he gestured toward his hamstring. Well, you've got a much deeper bench. Your options suddenly much fewer if you have to make a change right now. Looks like Cuejo does plan to return, which is a dose of good news for Phoenix. Is that a corner? No, Stauffer couldn't keep it. Phoenix going to make a double change now. End of the night for Gabi Torres. Ricardo Rito in off the bench. So the Phoenix roots are in full effect in this second half. A number of former Oakland players, including a couple off the bench, and Dennis and Rito featuring in this. And then Jose Hernandez will come in as well. Cuejo's night is indeed over.
Throw in Fuenmayor in that conversation as well.
Yep. Well, there's a dose of magic in that Oakland team, but I'm not quite sure we thought we'd see this many come back together. Clearly, they know their roots. '70th minute. Phoenix looking to put the dagger in. Massive collision midfield, play on, ball all the way through. Rito! Oh, wow! Jamali Waite to the rescue! The flag had gone up, it was offside either way. Jamali Waite. Rito cannot believe it.
As the gap starts to open up, you just see the pace, the decision-making, and the patience from Charlie Dennis. Asakar in one flank, Rito at the back post. There's an overload, but this is some save from Jamali Waite. How quickly he comes across. Just watch the technique in his footwork. Timing makes himself big and denies Rito the second goal for Phoenix Rising. Big-time save for the Locomotive goalkeeper.
Holy smokes, did he cover a lot of ground. Also, speaking of those 2022 roots, Asakar to Rito, wing back to wing back. I mean, they made a lot of money on that connection. 20 minutes to play here. Can't watch the match? Turn on SiriusXM FC 157. It's North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, plus hear live matches from the USL Championship, MLS, Premier League, and more. It's all on SiriusXM FC 157 and the new SiriusXM app. That, of course, includes tonight's game, as well as the Louisville, Colorado Springs game that aired earlier tonight on the channel. The first XM FC doubleheader of the season in the championship. What a game that was. You tuned into that. Good to the last drop.
Yeah.
You and I were preparing for this game, and at 92 minutes, I thought, all right, time to focus up. We've got a game to do here. And alas, Louisville scores the last gasp winner at 95 minutes on the clock. If we could be so lucky in this game.
And you do think there is some more opportunities in this match, some golden ones at that.
You and I were looking at each other. Who just got a yellow card? It's Patrick Rakowski, the reserve goalkeeper who actually won the title as the starter in 2021 at Orange County, who's shown a yellow card. He has not played yet this year. This is his 19th appearance on the sub bench. Rocco Rios Novo's been the one. But Rakowski can now add a yellow card to his collection. Maybe that's inspiring to Phoenix. Firing forward on all cylinders again. Adams puts it wide. Asakar dragging for Mella. It's denied briefly by Coronado. Jose Hernandez. Asokar. Asokar!
Just so much fluidity now for Phoenix Rising. Players that can play in different positions. This is some ball from Boyd. Takes out the whole midfield line of the Locomotive. And as for Mello, starts centrally. He peels out right. That opens up real estate centrally. Asokar, since coming onto this game, he's been so good. Him and Rito understanding their movements off of one another and really unbalancing the Locomotive, who yet again are getting a little bit stretched out if you're Wilmer Cabrera.
Well, it's kind of funny, you mentioned the potential of that trio knowing each other well enough to play off one another when we chatted with Diego Gomez earlier in the week. Good inclination on your part, Ricky. Certainly playing that way. Slide in toward Asokar, out over the line. That is a corner. That is sheer effort. When we speak to Wilmer Cabrera, every 50-50 ball is a decision, and Lions went for it.
And he did not mince words on our phone call. He said the effort has not been there. Players that show well in training, but then once the game day comes, they get into a little bit of a shell. They don't produce as much. They don't have the same amount of effort. They've shown how good they can actually be when they're on the ball, sitting into a mid to low block.
Dennis turned away by Yuma. Here's Hernandez. Dennis can make a real fan favorite of himself right off the bat, should he find a goal. Outside, end line, cut back, Yuma, corner. Yeah, he said we're looking for gamers, right?
And the center back that just denied this ball across is definitely one of those. Always up for the challenge. I think he's been really good, but has dealt with a lot. The two center backs, Dollenmeyer and Yuma.
He's one of the first guys Mark Lowry brought in when they launched El Paso 6 years ago, and he's still here at the age of 38. They'll have to defend a corner now. Zambrano, header, scarce denied by Waite. Scarce nearly with his head again.
It's a really clever header from Scarce. creates a little bit of separation, let momentum do its thing, and just redirect it. Reaction save from Jamali Waite to push it wide of his goal mouth.
Another corner. We'll stay with Phoenix. Yet another, and the celebration is on in the Valley of the Sun. Let this persist, and perhaps El Paso can take something from this night. The frustration from Coronado. He essentially got picked by the referee. Dennis. Outside Edgardo Rito. Rito came out of nowhere to recover that. Like Dennis picked off. Here's Ruiz. Ferocious competitor, Yuma, described by former coaches in El Paso. Zacharias, foul. That's a tough one for Boyd. El Paso only 15 goals this year, 3 fewer than the Golden Boot leader, Nick Marcanic. Here's Stauffer, bent the wrong way.
Good little action from Locomotive. It starts with this ball around the corner from Calvillo. And that frees up some space for Lucas Stauffer. Right footer playing on the left-hand side, just mishits it as it's always bending away from Rios Novo.
Rios Novo to put this away. 22-year-old. Spent time at Lanús in Argentina. Sent away. The USL Championship is on CBS Sports and ESPN platforms all season long. Catch live matches and expert analysis every day on the CBS Sports Golazo Network and ESPN Plus. Go to uslchampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. Varela fouled hard enough that he lost his shin guard in the process. Free kick for Phoenix. Hard one and a great spot on the field. Helped up by Stauffer.
Just look at the space in between lines. It's a fantastic ball from Boyd. But that's about 20 yards between that back line. So now you're asking Ricky Ruiz to do a lot of the dirty work at the foul on Lucas Stauffer. As Ruiz is tracking back, he just takes out Fede Varela yet again. But little things like that we've seen from the Locomotive as they get spread apart. Now they start to break down.
Ruiz shown yellow for the challenge. Dennis lofts. Header comes centrally, ricochets away from Lions. Ruiz acquired this week from Chattanooga Red Wolves in League One. Coronado in from Central Valley in League One. He played for Jermaine Jones. Yes, they're championship caliber players. They've been on pretty good teams, but they've also played for Wilmer Cabrera. It means that especially in a week where multiple players tested positive for COVID, they were able to jump right into the mix. Drops down to Rito. El Paso the other way as quick as they can. Zacharias turns on the Jets. Zambrano stride for stride and eventually won the ball. down the line. Phoenix again seeking the second, a bit of insurance. Sakar kept it long enough. Phoenix could move right onto the playoff line with a win here tonight. They'll go to Hartford next week, then Colorado Springs before returning to face Tampa Bay. Rematch of the final that never was from 2020. Rito, top the 18, got away from Varela. Double sub coming. Ortioto and Barker John set to come on in a moment. That moment is now. Ruiz got the yellow on the previous tackle about 2 minutes ago. And now Phoenix will use their final 2 subs. So Dortiotto, the 20-year-old Italian, who was fascinated by the opportunity to come to the U.S., came up through Juventus, trained around the first team a little bit. I don't know, Ronaldo, Dybala, Matuidi, not bad.
Not bad.
Now here he is in Phoenix, coming on for the 13th time this year. And then Damian Barker-John for the first time for Phoenix Rising. 14 games in MLS Next Pro, couple of goals. But really the understanding that Diego Gomez has isn't from Next Pro. It's from his time in the Queensboro FC Academy, which he previously led, including to a USL Academy title in 2020. Went on to the University of Louisville. Now the 19-year-old, a second-round pick, Real Salt Lake, comes onto the field for the first time for Phoenix Rising.
Spoke really highly of Barker John. The ability to go at players and make them uncomfortable. 1v1 is going to be his forte, so how quickly can he get up the tempo to get him involved in confidence? On their side, Dorotioto, a player that I've been really impressed with. Plays in the center of the park. His relationship to start this 2024 campaign with Zambrano was really good at their balance. Skiers comes in, Hernandez as well. Take your pick. Now Charlie Dennis comes into the fold. Fantastic little turn.
Yellow to Dolenmeyer. Dolenmeyer, the former third-round pick of LAFC.
If you're Wilmer Cabrera, you're okay with this. Being a little bit more aggressive, as at least your structure is more compact. You don't give Dorotioto the ability just to pick up his head, turn, and run downhill.
Yellows are flowing tonight. 4 to players on the field, and of course the 1 to the reserve goalkeeper. It's disappointing, right? You and I see the live statistics that come in, referees report, it just says dissent. Would I pay to know what was actually said? Or what language it was in, to be fair.
Fair.
Formella has done an admirable job today, again trying to fill in for Remy Cabral. There's a sub coming for El Paso in a moment. Meanwhile, Dorotioto, a little trouble, Jamali Waite. Only 1 window remains here for El Paso, and it'll be a change that was a long, long time coming. Get to that in a moment. Formella, the numbers are brilliant here for Phoenix. Can they find their second? They can! That's the dagger! Pop Mar Boy! The first pro goal for Pop Mar Boy. Phoenix ahead by 2. And on First Responders Night, Even the fire engine gets in on the celebration.
Wins the initial bump, and he continues his run. Smells blood in the water, says, I'm gonna go on my own. Thank you very much, get out of my way, looking like a striker. Second touch, changes directions. Wrong foots, Jamali Way, enough pace, enough power to beat the goalkeeper. And it's off to the corner to celebrate. Both sides of the ball, high quality, and he gives Phoenix Rising their second goal in front of their home faithful here at home.
Boy hits the gritty. The Phoenix fans celebrate, and that should be 3 points in the bag tonight. The Phoenix team that defensively is in the upper third Western Conference, but an attack that's often struggled this year. It's a center back getting his first pro goal. It's a midfielder getting his first goal in the league. And Phoenix 2 goals ahead. Meanwhile, 740 days after first making an appearance on the bench for El Paso over 2 years ago, Raul Vasquez makes his first team debut, the 18-year-old native of El Paso, off the bench for the final minutes. Signed an academy deal February of 2022. He was part of the signing day again on April 16th. He made the bench at home at Southwest University Park on July the 10th of 2022. And now on July the 20th of 2024, he has made the bench again. Meanwhile, we have a sprinkler problem.
Can't have that playing going on during the game. I mean, it is hot.
It is really hot. I both completely understand it, and also they have to fix it.
Chance you run under it after the game?
You know, some of the El Paso players came out at halftime, and well, they were there before the sprinklers had been shut off. All right, let's play ball. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that that is our second half hydration break. Anywho, Vasquez. Well, El Paso, this is going to be a fourth straight loss, all by multiple goals. Taken away by Formella. If he had gone down there, it could have easily been a second yellow on Dolenmeyer. Instead, he keeps his feet. Stoppage time, 9 added minutes. Number of injuries in this second half and a wayward sprinkler. And a referee who is oddly specific. Good move. Dorotioto wants the return. Formella nearly gave it to him, out to Rito. Here's the thing about Phoenix when they're at their best. They don't just win, they stunt on you. Rito, he's gone. Rito, cut back, he's still after it. Takes it to the corner and wins the corner. What a Herculean effort from Ricardo Rito.
And this is just work rate. And a bit of quality from Phoenix Rising. Dorotioto, so comfortable in tight spaces. Gets denied once, wins the initial ball. Gets denied twice, wins a second ball as well from Rito.
Who knows, maybe the era of the dollar beer night is back. Ball hung across, that's out. That'll be a goal kick. Or is it? Dorotioto claims and indeed is shown another corner, although now the official has changed his decision. It is a goal kick. Dollar Beer Night was a thing up until 2019, but a change in venue primarily caused the end of what had become a seeming guaranteed win. Usually it wasn't a one-goal win. I mean, we saw some 4 or 5 goal performances on Dollar Beer Night. And it was one of our producers, Sharni Yerke, who actually started putting the math together and realized it had been 7 or 8 of these occasions, and on all of the occasions, Phoenix had won, and the numbers were gaudy. And suddenly everyone realized that there was something going on, something in the water, dare I say, in Phoenix. This will carry them out toward the Banditos. It'll be another corner as Yuma giving all he can with 6 minutes remaining. So now that they've come back to this new stadium at 38th and Washington, Dollar Beer Night returns for the first time in 5 years this season. This is the second of the year. And who knows, maybe Phoenix is prepared to start lighting it up again today when the fans get lit up. Corner for Phoenix. Towards Skeers, he tried to flick it on toward Pop Marboy, the 2 goal scorers the closest to it. Another set piece.
And he's been the intended target for Phoenix Rising. Whether it's at the back post or the near post, he's been really good in the air and understanding where he is in the box and what play is needed. Flick on.
Well, across again. Cleared. By the way, at a point, it was 15-0 on Dollar Beer Night.
That's incredible.
Right? Of course, Phoenix owns the longest pro soccer win streak in North American history. They once won 20 in a row, so it's not even their longest streak of that kind. But pretty good. Hernandez, crowd really willing this on. Yuma siphoned it off. Hey fans, a reminder that eFootball 2024 is here. Live your dream, rep your team. Play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball free to play. Download now. Moreno. That took a while, but eventually the handball was acknowledged.
Frustrating evening for Moreno. To start the match, he was very lively. Since then, not as influential as Wilmer Cabrera would have hoped. I think that front three is something that they need to get figured out quickly. Whether it's the spacing, the balance, or the spaces that they occupy. There's no real structure and fluidity higher up the field for this Locomotive side. Defensively, I thought they've been okay. But as this game progressed, when they go and search a game, now they start to get spread apart, and then you can see the second goal.
If you're El Paso, 3 minutes to go here, trailing by 2. You're going to be on 12 points through 18 games. The playoff line is 24. You look ahead, you play your chief rival, New Mexico, at home. Top team in the West. Dorotioto off the mark for Formella. Then you'll go to Memphis, which is an extraordinarily tough place to play, although you're used to playing on fields of that ilk. Then you host Miami on August 10th. If you're still on 12 points by August 10th, that's going to be your season in a nutshell. That one game against cellar-dwelling Miami. Picked off here, Phoenix forward again. Formella turns. Formella at weight. But it's going to get late really early for El Paso at this rate.
I think the only positive that you can take from that, if you're Wilmer Cabrera, a team that has 3 wins on the season, they've been all away from home. So you can take some confidence when you go to Memphis and say we can actually grind out a result here. The New Mexico game, teams that don't like each other, so that's going to bring the best out of your side. But a lot to figure out for Wilmer Cabrera and company. You need to take a long, hard look in the mirror.
And the reality is at 0-7-2 at home and only 6 goals in 9 games at Southwest University Park. You've got the home game against New Mexico and the home game against Miami in the next 3. If you don't find a win in one, if not both of those, it is going to be extraordinarily difficult to see a way for them to reach the top 8. Rito is running like a man possessed, and Yuma's got it. Meanwhile, Phoenix, all that's gone wrong. Here you are right at the playoff line with about a third of the season to go. 2 incoming players that the staff is really excited about, Dennis and Barker John. In theory, Remy Cabral hopefully back sooner rather than later, and an entire transfer window to try and add to your group. One that most everyone says is still more than talented enough to reach the postseason. Zambrano levied off toward Formella. These teams drew a couple of weeks ago. There's a point to be made. Zambrano off the mark. Phoenix will win the rematch. This is a game Phoenix absolutely had to have, and they do. A 2-0 win for Phoenix Rising over El Paso Locomotive. 4 straight defeats for El Paso. Their interim manager, Wilmer Cabrera, still trying to find the right fight in his group. But Pop Marboy and JP Skierce manage goals for a Phoenix side desperate for a win. The first under their new interim coach, Diego Gomez.
It was always going to be difficult for the Locomotive with the lack of bodies that Wilmer Cabrera can put on the field. But this match from minute 1 to minute 99 was all about Phoenix Rising. Better in both boxes, had more fight, more willingness. The tempo was a lot better. Result of that, the quality. You took your chances, and you keep all 3 points here at home.
First win since June the 8th. And Phoenix Rising finally off the schneid after a month and a half. Plenty more to come here in Phoenix as we'll wrap this one up on the other side of the break. Phoenix Rising, a vital 2-0 victory over El Paso on this Friday Dollar Beer Night. Back in Phoenix, Bob Marboy could celebrate his first professional goal. This Phoenix team, first win in over a month. Back to the playoff line and back to 500. With Ricky, Mike, let's get you caught up on how this broke down as Phoenix defeats El Paso on this Friday night. And if you're Phoenix, you win a free kick in a dangerous spot and you make the most of it.
Flip ball in from Rendo Zambrano, but if you're Jamali Wade, you need to be more decisive and more commanding of your 6-yard box. Spear says thank you very much. Easy header, open net, off to the corner to celebrate. Phoenix Rising 1, El Paso Locomotive 0, but that 1 will turn into 2 very quickly. Boy wins the initial challenge, looking like a striker, how composed he is in around the 18-yard box. First touch is good, second touch is even better. In the back of the net, little dance, see what it means to him. 2 goals for Phoenix Rising, and all 3 points in their back pocket.
El Paso now 399 minutes without a goal, their longest run since the summer of 2022. Look at the final stats and chance for your final thoughts.
I think the spacing, the balance for the Locomotive was just not good enough throughout the stretch of this game. They showed glimpses, but now you need more consistency for Wilmer Cabrera. Phoenix Rising far better, deservingly, of all 3 points, and Diego Gomez has his team playing aggressive and being clinical in front of the net.
And a look at the Western Conference standings now. Phoenix on goal differential pops above Orange County for the moment. The reigning champion back in the top 8.
Really tight for Western Conference. What we mentioned, you string a couple good performances and get some results going your way, and you'll be pushing not only for a playoff match, but a home one, no matter that. What you want for the USL Championship.
And 2 and 3, Oakland and Sacramento meet up on CBS on Sunday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, coast to coast. Meanwhile, Phoenix tipped the tail. They dominated this game, and they get the result they deserve. It is the first win for their interim manager, Diego Gomez. And finally off the schneid. For Ricky Lopez-Espin and our entire team in Phoenix and beyond, Mike Watts saying thanks for watching. This is a presentation of CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports. His first championship goal. Finally, they pulled the cork here in Phoenix. 1-0 ahead.